Instagram's not dead, TikTok's not everything, and no, you don't need to be on every platform to grow. Today, we're getting crystal clear on where your brand actually belongs. Feeling overwhelmed with social media? You're not alone. This episode is a reality check and roadmap to stop spreading yourself thin and start showing up where it actually counts. Let's start with the big question. Why are people feeling platform fatigue? I think people are feeling platform fatigue because there's so many social media outlets there. By the time you even check the notifications from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, some people have Snapchat, X, Threads, just checking all that, it's exhausting. And then you have to also make content, engage, and perform on these platforms. So I think, fatigue is bound to happen because it's a lot of work to jump between all of those. And they're constantly being added and updated, grabbing for attention, which leads me to ask you, what's the most overhyped and the most underutilized platform you think in 2025?
The most overhyped, in my opinion, is Facebook. Although they have a huge reach organically, it's difficult. I think it's great for ads and user groups. And the most underutilized, I would say Pinterest and LinkedIn.
Definitely. And it's important to note those as we're going into this episode on which platforms, because yes, Facebook is still one of the top performing social media platforms across the world, literally globally. And like you said, for ads, it performs very well. They're very good with meta ads. You can run ads on Facebook that also go on Instagram and it has a high ROI, but it's still organic. It's like it's pay to play. So if you're not running ads and you're not really like putting money behind it, organically, it's not growing. And then I agree that a lot of people will start to really focus more on Instagram or TikTok and they forget about Pinterest.
Yes.
Pinterest is huge and Pinterest content never really expires. Like that content lives there forever. So it's definitely underutilized.
Yeah, people are going in Pinterest for intention, for closet inspiration, for outfit inspiration. So if you're looking for a specific skirt and you have your skirt listed, that's great reach. But
so
also,
true.
I wanted to know that Facebook has an audience of 3.7 billion. 3.07 billion.
Yeah, billion, yes.
So it's an insane number.
It really is. And it reminds me of when I was renovating my condo, I didn't have a designer. I picked everything out myself, but I used Pinterest to put things together and to see if I would like how things would work. And I remember everyone asking, like, how did you pick this out? Or where did you even start? And I literally was like, Pinterest. I had boards for everything, a board for the kitchen, a board for the bathroom, a board just for flooring. And you really can get great inspiration there.
What are the key things you need to consider before choosing where to post? Audience, content style, energy level. What do you think?
I think the biggest thing is audience. You really need to be where your audience is. I mean, that's so important. It's like you're not going to be, if you're a country singer and you're performing your first concert ever, you're going to sell tickets in Nashville, right? Like you want to be where your audience is going to be. So if they're all on Instagram and that's your target demographic, then why wouldn't you want to be there? So I think that's the easiest way to begin. And, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket either. So I always say it's nice to have 2 or 3 platforms that you really do well. But I think it's overkill to be on every single platform and, shouting out to every single platform when maybe it's not necessary. Maybe your audience is not even touching, if you're like, aiming to go to Gen Z brands, you probably don't have to go on Facebook.
Exactly. My opinion, content style varies. If you don't have videos, then
don't go on
TikTok.
Right. That's another factor. Yeah. So it's audience first. And then I agree. Then it's also your content, and it's kind of like, the chicken before the egg in a sense of if you really want to be on TikTok or a video platform, okay, so be it. But then you have to get the videos
and deliver.
Exactly. But
more than once a week.
Yes. And I have some clients who definitely don't want to be on video. They don't want to touch it.
Yes.
Some of them are on a different generation than us. And they say like, I'm very uncomfortable. I don't feel good doing that. Totally. I'm not going to force them to do anything they don't want to do. So for them, we'll push heavily Facebook and LinkedIn.
But TikTok's not going to be your answer.
Exactly. So as we're going into, which platform is, should you be on, we should talk about the vibe of each platform.
Yeah.
Every platform has a different vibe that it brings to the party, just like a person or a personality would. Instagram, it's still very polished. Instagram started as an app for photography. So it's still very more edited, influencer heavy, cooler content definitely wins.
TikTok started as we all know, playful, dancing, whatever. But now it's turned into this huge platform of trending short form content.
Yes. Very authentic content. There's a lot of people right now winning on TikTok with just no filter, talking right to the camera videos. I think of Alex Earl right away. She does her get ready with me videos. There's no fabulous editing to that. The camera is like propped up on who knows what. And her siblings are running in and out of her room sometimes. And she's gone, viral and famous and was in so many Super Bowl ads this past year just from authentic content. Then we have LinkedIn, which is very much more the opposite of that. It's very professional, focused on thought leadership. That's where you can really build an authority.
Facebook, still heavily for friends, family, Facebook groups. Starter.
Speaking of Facebook, I heard they're recently starting, did you ever see the movie, The Social Network?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, as social media managers, you probably have to. But apparently they're coming out with a second one. And I wonder how it's going to, or what it's going to be about. But when you watch that back, you realize it really was created for college students to be able to connect with each other. And then it grew into like families connecting and people connecting all over the world. So Facebook still relies on that.
And then we still use Facebook for roommates specifically.
Yes.
Find your roommate in a new city that they're moving to.
Yes.
So that's great for that.
And then we have Threads. So if people don't know what Threads are, Threads is literally like Twitter, but it's Instagram's version of Twitter. Yes. And it's really more of a real-time brain dump. Right now, Love Island is happening. And if you ever go on and you're into Love Island, you'll see all these people live reacting, kind of like they used to do on Twitter or X. But it's turning into that,
and turning all Love Island content and episodes into memes. And you'll find that all in Threads versus Instagram.
Correct. And I've noticed a lot of brands hopping on the Threads as being more like cheeky, playful. They're not using grammar. They're being more like fun. So I think that's interesting to note, which leads us to Twitter and X, which still isn't dead. It's still a platform that's very much alive for certain brands, for people, especially news, reporters, tech,
new announcements.
Exactly. And then as we talked about, Pinterest, very good for evergreen inspiration content. I know for me, when I get my nails done every couple of weeks, I'm looking on Pinterest for ideas.
I know for me, I'm using it for like photo inspiration for like trip.
Definitely. I love that. And then we have YouTube. We have to talk about YouTube. So YouTube, in its original form, it's the long form videos. It's those legacy videos. Those videos live on and on for years. It's a search engine. You can search something, you can find out. I had to change the batteries of a smoke detector in my home recently, and I found a video on YouTube to show me how to do it.
I got an espresso machine. I used YouTube Shorts actually to set up the machine.
Yes, which leads me to YouTube Shorts. So YouTube Shorts really jumped on the bandwagon once they saw that Reels and TikTok was doing well. And it's still a great way to be on video. But I think there's still something about YouTube's traditional videos and those longer form videos that rock there and should be used. But also, if you already have the video content on Reels and TikTok, you might as well try putting it on Shorts. You're not doing extra work and seeing how it performs.
And then if you are filming long form content, you can clip those into Reels, TikToks, resize it, repurpose it.
Exactly. Which brings us to personas. So I think this whole conversation comes up with, should you be building a personal brand, a business brand, or both? And whether you are a business owner or not, or whether you are an influencer or not, I think everybody needs a personal brand.
The magic, in my opinion, is building both. It depends on your goals. Your business brand builds credibility and your personal brand builds connection. Together, they build trust.
Exactly. And if you don't have a business, it's not like you can't still have your own brand to build. Like, I always say, if you're not building some sort of personal brand or you're not putting out there what you want people to perceive, people will write a story about you.
Yeah.
So you have to control the narrative for sure. And that also leads to a lot of founder-led brands. It's a big trend right now. A lot of people want to see who they're working with. It's not just Nike and Apple anymore, or it's not just Starbucks. People want to see who the CEO is, who are the people behind the company. I know for us at Goat Social Media, we really do like a big, push on the us who are working with the clients. And so clients know, I talked to Sofia. I talked to Kassie. And a lot of people who have been clients for the whole ride since we started almost 8 years ago, I mean, they know the ins and outs of where my office was, where I started and grew, and they're pretty much part of that journey.
Yeah.
And it adds trust.
It's really part of the puzzle.
Yes. It adds trust. And I think that also leads to, when you're building those personas, whether it's your brand or your personal or both, it's what are the goals? And then the goals that lead to that are going to be help you decide on the platform as well. if you're trying to show authority and thought leadership and show that you're an expert in your field, then you want to be taking advantage of LinkedIn. You want to write some newsletters. You want to write some long form content. You want to really be able to flex your muscles there, but if you are trying to just do visibility and get numbers and views, it's like Instagram and TikTok are going to probably give you your most amount of views, biggest bang for your buck.
Well, TikTok is the best in like reach and getting audience from non-followers.
Correct. The only platform I feel like right now, which is it's a wild statement to say, but I think at the moment, the only platform that's not really making you pay to play. So, you can still do very well. You can still go viral without spending money on ads, where I feel like Instagram still is pretty heavily pushing ads.
Yes.
And you're still competing with all of these big brands who have thousands and thousands to spend a day there. And when it comes to, service providers versus product-based brands, they need to show up differently on social media. I think the biggest part is that trust is huge there. With the product, you have reviews to rely on and you can look at what people say online, but with the service-based business, or, whether you're a personal trainer, a hairdresser, a social media manager, it's that trust. So you need to use your platforms to really build trust there.
Also, aside from trust, your personality. That's what makes you memorable to your audience.
Yeah, think about it. There's 1,000 people who do what we do.
Yeah,
not even 1,000, thousands, hundreds of thousands. And same with a lot of other industries.
You're not personal trainers.
Right. Most of us are not unique.
South Florida.
Exactly.
So what makes you different? And how can you help? Or what's your niche or your specialty?
Yes. I would say most of us are not unique in what we do. It's unique in who we are. And it's putting that out there on social media. So that also, ties into how can you do that? On which platform can you really show personality? I know some people who thrive more in that business professional setting while showing personality, and they're influencers on LinkedIn versus influencers on TikTok.
Exactly.
One of my favorite is Corporate Natalie. Have you followed her?
Of course.
She was big on TikTok first. Now she's a big following on Instagram. She works with a lot of brands, and her personality really just shows that she became such an influencer in that, because a lot of the content is just relatable corporate content, but it's her flair that she brings to it that makes her successful.
Also, real estate agents, they have a lot of personality.
Oh,
so a big, we've met some and they're like, I'm posting only on TikTok. It's like, maybe you should consider posting on LinkedIn because of the type of real estate that you're selling.
Correct. And not every realtor is going to wants to be that funny over the top.
Exactly.
Like I've seen some hysterical videos on TikTok for real estate where I saw a realtor do like quick speed tour and he's running through the house, jumping over furniture. I saw another lady who's like kind of kitschy in the sense of like, where would I hide if I was playing hide and seek? And she's in like weird areas.
Yes.
Those are funny. But a lot of my clients they would be like, that's not professional. That's not me. And it's inauthentic to my brand.
I think that's what they have to produce.
Correct. And do.
And they don't.
No, be true to you.
Yes.
And it will show. And you don't have to have a gimmick. You don't have to have, something that is going to make people stop for the wrong reasons either. Just be you. But also, where is that going to then thrive on the platform? Like maybe TikTok is thriving for those people because it's over the top and playful. But maybe for you, it's going to be Facebook because your buyers are in that age generation.
LinkedIn and just
ditch TikTok. Exactly. So say you are a strong founder and you have, a great presence and you're an influencer and you're really relying on your platform for your business. How can you transform that to a business brand? And why is it important for the founder not to only have the spotlight, but for the business to also have the spotlight?
That's a great question. And we see that a lot. A lot of times business owners will have a great following, but maybe not so much their business. And the biggest reason why you need to differentiate the two is because you can't always be the face of your business.
Correct.
A strong business, you need to allow room for growth, bringing in new team members, expanding it while still maintaining that trust.
Yeah, especially too, if you're looking to sell your business or brand down the line, you're not going to be part of that acquisition. Usually you're giving that up. So you have to have the brand to have a life of its own, a name of its own, and then be able to let that grow. I think of Spanx, Sarah Blakely. She's an amazing, amazing woman entrepreneur. She actually went to Florida State and I follow her online and she married an entrepreneur husband. And her brand Spanx really stands on its own. But if you know of her and follow her, you know her journey, you know what she went through. But she was able to sell her brand. I mean, she's still part of it, but she sold it. And it was easy to sell because most people have heard of Spanx and not most people have heard of Sarah Blakely. Most people don't really know her unless you're like a business owner or you follow that or Girl Boss Life. You don't really know who she is, but she's a household name. And people even say like they buy the off brand and they say, oh, I need my Spanx or got to wear my Spanx. Like it really stuck. So I think having that just makes it easier down the line for selling a business, getting investors in a business, being able to grow. Collaborations.
Yes,
for sure. So based on what we're discussing, some other questions that come up that tie into this is what's the biggest platform mistake small businesses make? I know I have an answer. Do you want to go first?
Yes, treating social media like a billboard. Too many small businesses use social media to push products or promotions and not really build a connection with their audience. And what your audience wants is relatability, consistency, and not just a sales pitch.
Agreed. You're not just yelling stuff out there, for sure. And I was going to add to that, which is actually very similar. My response was going to be about posting and ghosting, and not engaging. It's not okay just to post and then run away. You would never, tell a friend, hi, and then run and disappear. That's wild. So you want to be able to engage. I mean, social media, and I say it all the time, is social. So you want to have, conversations with customers, with other brands. You want to really make sure that it shows a personality. And that's a big mistake I think a lot of small businesses make because they're just so worried about push the content out there. Everyone needs to know who we are, but they're not really making those connections. You wouldn't go to a networking room, hold a sign of your company and stand in a corner.
Exactly.
Just doesn't work that way.
We always say like adding life behind the screen, and that's why we push community engagement with our clients.
Exactly. And then if someone could only focus on one platform, how should they pick it? I think we're both going to have similar and different answers. I can go first on this one.
Okay.
I think, as we talked about, there's so many ways to think about how to pick the platform. But for me, it's always going to stem to being where your audience is or where your people are, especially if you're just yourself building a personal brand. Go where your friends are first. That's going to be the easiest. They should be able to hype you up and be there for you. And if you're going to build it for a business, find out your ideal customer. Where are they spending their time? Where are they putting their efforts into? And then be there and align there and then build off that.
I say pick the one where you can show up consistently.
Yes.
Because like we said earlier in this episode, a lot of clients, they want to go viral on TikTok and they want to be on TikTok, but can you deliver content?
3 videos a day, literally.
Not just a week.
Yes.
So it may sound ideal to go viral on TikTok and have a presence on TikTok, but can you deliver that? Or can you deliver photos for Instagram and Facebook?
Yes. Yeah, consistency is always going to be any sort of other effort over and over, especially with social media and the algorithms. It's a number game. So as long as you're constantly being there and showing up, you'll do well. But you can't put all your effort in 1 week and then disappear for 2 months.
Yeah, you're better off showing up consistent on one platform versus ghosting on 5.
Exactly. And now we're going to play a little game. So we're going to do a little if you're a blank, try blank cheat sheet with some of our recommendations for different businesses and entrepreneurs with their platforms. So I'll start with if you're a business coach, try LinkedIn. That's where you should be.
If you're a beauty brand, try TikTok and IG Reels.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If a beauty brand needs to show how their makeup is, on people,
we need how-tos.
Yeah, exactly. And we want videos of that. If you're in real estate, go for Instagram and then even YouTube Shorts. They're having a big moment there. People in real estate want to see what the house is like. They don't want to read a description. They can go on MLS. They want to see photos. They want to really see the full picture.
If you're a nonprofit, go on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, their fundraising tools still are so amazing. You can have a fundraiser for your birthdays. You can have it on even Instagram stories. So it's definitely worth being there for a nonprofit. And then if you're a thought leader, definitely LinkedIn. And then even think of starting a podcast and building from there and creating your own content. But I think a thought leader needs to take advantage of LinkedIn.
Yes.
And that can lead to business opportunities, speaking gigs. It really opens the door. So, all right, friends, if you've been chasing every shiny new platform without a plan, let this be your sign to stop the scroll and start getting strategic. Whether you're a one-woman brand or running a full team, remember, it's not about being everywhere. It's about showing up where it matters, showing up consistently, and showing up as you.
Need help figuring out? DM us at You Heard It Here podcast with your industry and we'll send you a custom platform match. Consider it a gift.
And hey, if this episode gave you clarity or made you rethink your content game, go ahead and share it with a friend who's been stuck in platform purgatory. We all have one.